That guy's been recording you? Follow me. Just imagine hearing those whispered words from a total stranger at 2 in the morning, deep inside an otherwise completely empty superstore. I mean, it sounds like a rescue, right? A moment of pure relief. But as we're going to see in this explainer, those exact words were actually the final terrifying trap in a highly coordinated abduction attempt.
Welcome to Midnight Predators. Today, we're deconstructing the precise psychological tactics, the really sophisticated lures, and the terrifying traps used by bad actors who specifically target isolated night shift workers. We're going to analyze real, grounded accounts to see exactly how these predators weaponize the late hours against people who are quite literally just trying to ring up chips, pour drinks, or stock shelves.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the night shift reality, and this concept of the liminal space of midnight. So, picture the scene. You are standing inside a brightly lit convenience store. The fluorescent lights are humming, the coolers are buzzing, but right outside that glass, it is pitch black, dead silent, and entirely isolated. This stark contrast creates what's called liminal isolation. It is a state of extreme vulnerability. These workers are basically trapped in brightly lit fishbowls, surrounded by late-night dead zones, and totally cut off from the safety of any bystanders. And the scary part, bad actors don't just happen upon these locations by accident. They specifically seek them out, weaponizing this exact environment to corner their targets.
Moving on to Section 2, psychological intimidation tactics, or how these predators go about testing boundaries. Our first case study comes from a 2017 gas station account, and it brilliantly illustrates this slow escalation of dread. It kicks off at 9 p.m. with a phone call, someone using a forced horror movie Ghostface voice, clearly just testing the waters. But by 10:40 p.m., the caller starts dropping very specific hints that they are actively watching the store, specifically noting how quiet it is. Then, by 11 p.m., the psychological pressure really mounts. We're talking calls every 2 minutes. Finally, at 11:40 p.m., this digital threat becomes terrifyingly physical when a very unsettling customer arrives. During those incessant phone calls, the perpetrator delivered this absolutely chilling line: "I shouldn't be rude to people who know where I am." And they said it with this calm, weirdly real laugh. After that call, the actual sensory terror set in. The isolated workers started hearing the physical confirmation that they were being hunted. A tap on the glass, a light scrape near the side wall, and then the undeniable crunch of footsteps stepping on loose gravel out in the security camera's blind spot.
Then, that 11:40 p.m. customer actually walks in. It's a man in his late 20s, and he executes this highly unnerving sequence. Step 1, he enters with a completely blank expression. Step 2, he just wanders the store for 9 agonizing minutes, repeatedly peeking over shelves to establish this weird, silent dominance. Step 3, he holds direct eye contact for 2 seconds, lowers his chin, and flashes a deliberate, calculated smile that is designed entirely to instill terror. And Step 4, he walks out, stares right through the glass, and vanishes directly into the woods, waiting perfectly in that blind spot.
Thankfully, the worker wisely trusted their gut and locked up just before midnight. The escape was pure adrenaline. They sprinted to their car, and just as they reached it, they heard the horrifying sound of fast, speed-walking steps literally slapping the pavement right behind them. The predator was charging. The worker peeled out of the lot, narrowly escaping. But you know what's incredibly frustrating? The next day, their boss completely dismissed the security footage, casually writing the guy off as a regular customer. It's a stark reminder, guys. If you feel like you're being hunted, you probably are. Let's look at Section 3, false security and lures, and the incredibly sophisticated traps they set. You see, the tactics completely change based on the venue. Let's move over to a quiet dive bar. Predators don't always look like monsters lurking in the woods. Often they present a facade, like a clean-cut man in his 40s wearing a black turtleneck and trench coat, looking totally like old money. A week later, he might even return with a trendy, overly friendly woman in her 30s. But the grim reality, the one actually caught on security cameras later that night, it's a black van with unregistered plates,
and masked figures waiting in the dark. In this case, the perpetrators baited the lone bartender, a woman named Cadence. First, the man laid down a crisp $100 bill, to establish wealth and trust right off the bat. A week later, the woman comes in and showers Cadence with physical touch and over-the-top compliments like, "Oh, you're so pretty." Then comes the actual lure, an offer of $10,000 just for working exclusive private parties. When Cadence politely declined, the trap snapped shut with this incredibly sinister demand. "You should step outside for a second. There's someone who can explain it better." When Cadence refused to go outside, the predators retreated, but only to execute this terrifying playbook a bit later. Step 1 was scouting her out. Step 2, the woman returned right at midnight, pretending she just wanted one last drink. Step 3, she vanished the literal second she heard the front door click shut, knowing Cadence would lock it for the night. And Step 4, with the front now locked, someone began violently rattling the back door, actively trying to flush the terrified bartender out the front, where that black van was waiting, idling. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is the sheer scale of this coordination. Because when the police and the boss finally reviewed the security footage, they made a chilling discovery. There weren't just 2 people involved. There were 3 attackers. 2 masked figures were crouching at the front door just waiting for her to run out, while the third was the one violently banging on the back door to herd her right into their trap. It's like a giant funnel.
Section 4. Fabricated emergencies and traps, where they literally exploit human empathy.
In this case study, we look at how predators use our instinct to help against us. This targets a worker at a quiet gas station at 2:30 in the morning. A man in a dark red hoodie, who had actually been strangely shuffling around in the shadows outside, finally pushes his way into the store. He's got this rushed, extremely nervous energy. He doesn't ask to buy anything. Instead, he leans over the counter and mutters, "My car broke down just before the pumps." He adamantly refuses a tow truck. All he wants, the only thing he's asking for, is for the isolated worker to grab a flashlight and come outside with him into the dark.
So you have to wonder, was his car actually broken down? Well, the worker had just been outside minutes earlier for some fresh air and knew for a fact the lot was completely empty. And yet, when the man pointed to the surveillance monitor behind the counter, miraculously, there was now a car sitting dead near the highway entrance. The setup here is a stark contrast. You've got the man right at the counter, sweating, putting on a highly rehearsed performance of a stranded motorist desperately needing help. But the worker notices a terrifying detail on that monitor. Just behind the back bumper of that mysteriously appearing car, there is a slight movement. Someone is crouching in the shadows, waiting just out of view. The survival tactics the worker used here were brilliant. They pretended to just grab their phone from the back, but they secretly slammed the emergency panic alarm. And the moment that siren blared, the predator's act instantly dropped. All that nervous energy vanished, replaced by a slow, relaxed, knowing grin. He realized he was caught, and he actually found it amusing. He and the crouching man bolted straight into the woods. The police later found the car had a third accomplice inside, and it had actually been stolen 100 miles away. Just wild.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the Savior Illusion, the ultimate Trojan horse.
We reached the climax of these case studies during a 2 a.m. shift at a Walmart. And the setup here is agonizingly slow. A worker in the electronics section realizes a man is silently hovering. He isn't shopping, he's just lingering in the next aisle, standing entirely too still, just watching her. To make matters infinitely worse, the worker's radio batteries are completely dead. She is totally cut off, effectively isolated inside a massive, sprawling superstore.
Then the trap is sprung, and it happens in 4 parts. Step 1, the stalker's deliberate presence pushes the worker's panic to an absolute boiling point. Step 2, a loud, overly familiar woman suddenly swoops in, posing as an old friend to provide a massive sense of relief. Step 3, she firmly grabs the worker's arm, whispering that the creepy man is recording her. Step 4. Under the guise of rescuing her, the woman physically steers the terrified worker past the registers straight toward the dimly lit, camera-free warehouse loading exit. Luckily, recognizing the warehouse was a total dead end, the worker fought back. She yanked her arm free with all her might and screamed for help, running back toward the lit aisles. And as she fled, the so-called savior completely dropped the friendly act and yelled out the worker's actual name to try and stop her. Later security cameras reviewed the ultimate horror here. The stalker and the savior had actually walked through the front doors together. The woman was the mastermind the whole time.
This brings us to a deeply unsettling conclusion. These weren't just crimes of opportunity. These workers were specifically targeted. Because the most chilling detail from that Walmart encounter isn't just that they worked together. It's this final question. How did that woman know her name? The worker hadn't told her. Her name tag wasn't even visible. It just proves how much preparation goes into these midnight predatory tactics. So the next time you find yourself in a brightly lit room surrounded by the pitch black of night, remember these tactics, trust your instincts, and never, ever ignore that heavy feeling in your gut. Let me ask you, what would you have done?